Listening to the Heat Ratio Podcast, brought to you by the Heat Ratio Sports Network. This show brings the temperature of sports to a whole new level. Whether it's a local opinion or a national agenda, everything is fair game. Remember, everyone has an opinion, but only few can back it up. Now sit back, crank up the volume, and if you think you can handle it, get ready for the Heat.
What is up, everybody? Heat Ratio Sports episode 135. John Coker, Tony Jigsaw Cotillo, Mikey Googs. We got an action-packed show again tonight. We're going to try to keep this on 2 hours, I hope, because we seem like we just get longer and longer every week. We had to cut that down, boys. We had to cut that down tonight. We're going to talk about Eagles after a bye. Or reinforcements are coming in. People coming off of injury. Maybe a shorter leash for Carson Wentz. We shall see. Steelers 8-0 and the Seahawks get trounced. We're talking a little hybrid quarterback talk. What type of quarterback do you prefer? Murray or Tua, or Allen or Herbert? Then we're going to talk about Mr. Tony La Russa and his drunk ass that needs to get an Uber. We're talking little big game memories. Okay, little big game memories. We're going to go back to 1991 NBA, New Jersey for the Sixers. Giannis getting super max. What's in John CD racks, and ending with a Wu-Tang Clan anniversary. 27 years, showing our age once again. Boys, what is up, Mike? What's going on, buddy?
It's been an interesting week. It really has. A lot of crazy stuff going on in the sports world, as usual. It was nice to not have to stress out about the Eagles on Sunday. The fact that they were on a bye, gave us a little bit of time to reflect. I've spent the weekend watching old McNabb videos on YouTube and highlights, and I've come to the realization that, and I've said this before on previous episodes, that I just think was really hard on him. And, I don't think we realized how good we had it under that leadership. And not only just the leadership. I mean, Andy Reid wore out his last 5 years. I think he stayed 5 years too long. But the fact that we just had consistency, and now every week you don't know what you're going to get. I did read that last piece from our boy Marcus, which was great. Don't blame Peterson, blame everybody else is basically what he was saying. So he makes a pretty interesting point. He made some good points. I didn't agree with all of it, which I usually do agree with most of what he says. But I saw a report from Keyshawn Johnson that said Carson Wentz will not finish as an Eagle, and I thought that was pretty interesting. So it's not like I think outside of our local sports area, this is starting to catch fire, and when you start hearing national broadcasters say stuff like that, there's some trouble on the horizon, right? What do you think?
Absolutely. There isn't, like you said, it comes to a national level. Brett Favre the other day comes out, and now all of a sudden he wants to start talking about we should have kept Nick Foles and not Carr. So it's interesting that all these national personifications are coming out, and we just can't hold it back. John, what's up, buddy? How's your week?
Busy.
8-0 Steelers.
8-0 Steelers. Yeah. Shout out to Ken Huck. He's a Cowboys fan. He was sitting on my couch. I'm a very superstitious person. Anytime there's a non-Steelers fan watching a game with me, they lose in my house.
Really?
That's interesting.
Yes. 100%. It has happened time after time. Doesn't matter who we're playing. It's just a bad omen. But I thought this week, we're playing the Cowboys. Why not?
Yeah, they almost lost.
Yeah.
You shouldn't do that anymore.
I almost kicked him out at halftime. it was real close, but I did expect a close game. I didn't expect to be losing into the fourth quarter. But to touch on the Wentz, does he, how long's he with the Eagles? If he puts up another 2 years of this, he ain't going to finish with the Eagles. That's for sure.
I don't think he lasts 2 years if he continues to play like this.
No, I think you both are right, 100%. But I mean, they come off a bye, right? We have to see this. And Mike, you remember Andy Reid was synonymous for never lost coming off a bye. Remember, he was like undefeated for years.
Oh yeah,
coming off a bye. It was insane. So you felt really comfortable going with the Eagles coming off the bye. Playing the New York Giants, not going to be an easy game by any means. Okay, it's not going to be an easy game. But Miles Sanders should be back. We're getting some more reinforcements on the offensive line. Goddard has another week behind him. Alshon Jeffrey sounds like he's going to make an appearance. So things are starting to happen a little bit. And dare I say, could we have enough momentum to make some kind of run here? I mean, think about it. It's crazy.
Probably.
I think we are. I think we are going to make a run.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm starting to get really optimistic. I really am. Andre says, yo, I'm going to have the substitute teacher to Andre, listen, if next time when I know, because I still don't, Dave may be showing up late. So I promise you this. If I know ahead of time that Dave is 100% out, or Mike or John or even myself, and John could host the show, then John's like shaking his head. I will send you the link and we will get you in a quad box 100%. The only coming out because they see the Eagles getting healthy on both sides of the ball. He's saying all of a sudden the national people are coming out. He's like, I agree. 2 more years in Cart. Wow. Will be a Minnesota quarterback.
Minnesota. Interesting, Andre. That's an interesting pick.
Because what did Kirk Cousins signed a 3-year deal? Does this Kirk, remember he signed a 3-year max deal?
I remember it was a monster deal.
$84 million guarantee or something.
Yeah, crazy.
Crazy.
Kirk Cousins.
Right? So
just what are you doing? How great is his agent? Has he got the same agent as Sam Bradford?
Yeah.
Sam Bradford's agent to me was better than Drew Rosenhaus, better than any agent. He was the best. I mean, he got what? Sam Bradford $300 million, and he played like 3 games. Sammy Sleeves.
Sam Bradford got paid.
Paid.
He got paid. I mean, literally, and he was banging out 12, 15, and $20 million deals
all day.
Look, I mean, I don't even know what he did that was so good too. It's crazy.
Richest scrub in the NFL.
Yeah, yes, John, you are right. Richest scrub in the NFL.
Now, remember that Chip Kelly crap when we were trying to get Mariota and we are going to try to trade the farm for him, and they had didn't he have like Fletcher Cox involved in that trade and all this stuff that we heard that never went through? And then then when he announced his quarterback, I remember he picked Sam Bradford, and we were like, "What? Sam Bradford?"
Remember when that trade went down and we were all like, "Oh, we must be getting." We're like, "Wait, no, we traded for Sam Bradford.
We just got Sam Bradford." Like no one knew what to think. I mean, Chip Kelly and his offensive mindset and this powerhouse and everything that he did. Oh, by the way, I think that we should touch more on a segment, maybe not this show, on another show, but I would like to look at the data for injured players that were under Chip Kelly's sports science shakes, medical, that whole regiment that he put in. I think, and I read this somewhere, and again, so don't quote me on this, but I read this somewhere that I think the Eagles were like the healthiest team for a couple of years under that program. And if you can remember WIP in 94, everybody ripping Chip Kelly for the music and, the shakes, they destroyed him for that, right?
Absolutely.
So we should definitely talk about that. But yeah, going back to your Sam Bradford trade in the announcement, we were a little blown away when he said that, right?
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Yeah. And then you know what? Everybody, most people in Philadelphia sports media played the narrative that Sam Bradford was going to be good. They went back and started saying, oh, well, you know what? He's like, stop. You already knew it was a bogus deal. I mean, come on. Did you really have us believing in Sam Bradford? Like, stop it. Remember,
we'll fight for anything.
He came out the preseason game, remember? And he looked good for a half against the Baltimore Ravens, I think it was. He looked real good. And then he went right back to Bradfordisms and he sucked. 100%. Like you
I think that's an error of football, especially Philadelphia Eagles football, that we forget to talk about because of the way that it ended so badly. It was so embarrassing with Chip Kelly that last year that I think that it shocked most of the Eagles fans to not even discuss that whole era of players or what we did there. Like nobody talks about it.
Nobody.
Remember how hyped we were when Chip Kelly signed? We were like, wow, everybody was on board. We were like, we got Chip Kelly. It was like, when the Phillies signed Hunter Pence, when we were rolling after Cliff Lee, we were like, wow, we got Hunter Pence and we're going to crush everybody. We're like the Yankees. And then it just all fell apart like it always does. Yeah, John just sitting there nodding because he can feel the pain, but he can engage into the conversation, but he doesn't really care.
Feel
I want to
the
be like
pain,
John.
feel the pain. Yeah, be a Pirates fan, dude. Go ahead. You want to feel pain?
Oh, that's a good point.
It's painful. There was an article on their projected opening day roster, dude. It's disgusting. There's double A teams that could win games against those dudes.
That's the Pirates, and we're gonna get in that little baseball talk. But you think about it. I mean, you think about players that are synonymous to the Pittsburgh Pirate era, right? Like, think about that. Like, you name me 2 pitchers, and I know this might be easy for you, John, but 2 pitchers that in the last 30 years for Pittsburgh that were studs. Help me out.
I have no idea.
Was it Bob Walk?
Well, I was going to say Bob Walk because that's the only person I really know. But he was like, that's from like 1985, right? I was thinking, should I say Bob Walk, or is that just too? Is that too much?
Dude,
that's all I remember is Bob Walk.
They all leave before they become studs. You'll get Charlie Morton, Garrett Cole, Doug Drabeck, Drew Smiley.
Drabeck.
Doug Smiley was
Drabeck, yeah.
Doug
Charlie Morton.
Charlie Morton. Do you was Bob Walk on the Pirates before or after the Phillies? Because he was on the Phillies 1983 World Series when we played the Orioles and we lost. Walk was on that team, I believe. I think he might have been on the 1980 team also. Did he?
I think he was. I think he was.
Yeah, I think he was. I think he was.
Do.
And that was with Al Holland. Remember Al Holland?
Al Holland.
Wow.
Wait, what year was that with Steve Jeltz?
That was 80. No, Jeltz was after. Jeltz was the Von Hayes era, so that's like 85.
Wait, it was Ozzie Virgil was
Ozzie
on that team.
Virgil.
Ozzie Virgil.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh man,
that's when I loved baseball, man.
That's when I remember walking to the vet, getting my bag of pretzels with my pop, and getting the 700 level yellow seats for a buck. General admission. You know what I mean? And moving to
and they was moved down because nobody was ever at the games because the Phillies just stunk for so many years. They were absolutely horrible.
They were terrible. Andre says Bradford did beat the Cowboys in Dallas and overtime, sucked us right back in. He's true. Right.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, he did. The Chevy Corsica was the car in Philly when Bob Walk pitched.
Wow.
Chevy Corsica. I remember the Corsica. I think I drove in one of them a couple times. My God.
That's a nice pull there, Andre.
John, that is sad though that we're talking about Bob Walk. I mean, I think you had a year of AJ Burnett maybe, and Josh Johnson. Did you have a Josh Johnson?
No.
For a year, he's just the Marlins. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody in Pittsburgh.
Well, we had which was it? Oliver Perez, who
I remember Ollie
at one point.
Liriano Francisco Liriano.
We had Liriano, yeah.
But you know,
wow, pulling names out.
Yeah, I mean, but they're just like,
So I haven't been to that stadium, but I heard the stadium. Yeah, well, I heard the stadium is amazing.
That's what everyone says.
Apparently, they can't put a team together, but the stadium is amazing.
Yeah, they say you walk over. They shut the road down. You walk over the bridge, like on game day. They say it's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Absolutely fantastic. But getting back to football and seeing what happened with Pittsburgh and Dallas, and even though listen, I know Pittsburgh won. But seeing Dallas try to play a little bit, listen, you got to say what you want, hate Mike McCarthy, kill Mike McCarthy, whatever the hell you want to say. Listen, that's coaching. That's coaching. I mean, this is what we talk about with the Eagles. Everybody complains about injuries, give the narrative, make the excuse for Doug Peterson. Mike McCarthy went up against a 7-0 team with a stiff at quarterback. Okay, a team that's not been playing here. Every narrative in a book about how they disrespected the coach or talking to the locker room. He almost won that game, right? Almost won that game.
That's right.
All right, so we got to start looking at that, and this week against the Giants is going to be no easy task. I understand Danny Dimes looks really bad at sometimes and looks okay to others, but the defense, 2 guys. Blake Martinez, who I would love if the Eagles would sign him as middle linebacker. He played great in Green Bay, right? Good. And Jabril Peppers is all over the ball all the time. So those 2 guys are really good for that defense. And again, We have these receivers. Jabril Peppers is going to be up in the box all day long. I just don't think it's going to be an easy game. I don't think that we have to worry about Washington. Another gruesome injury for Kyle Allen. Oh, with the ankle. I mean, God, these ankles.
Awful.
Like,
Awful.
yeah, like
Poor kid. That's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, but have you ever seen this amount of ankle injuries? Like, it's almost like they're all scarecrows. Like, it's crazy. I don't know what it is, man. I don't know what it is, but
that turf at the the new Meadowlands, whatever it's called now. I mean, we saw the first 2 weeks how many guys went down. You know,
yeah,
it's
scary, man.
I'm telling you, I mean, I don't know how many of these happened on grass. I would say probably very few, if any. But yeah, it's always you see the cleats stick in that that artificial surface. It's just not good, and it's getting worse. So we think we're making the turf better, but we're actually making it worse because it's like so good that it like a normal human's joints can't handle it.
Right. It's just either way. It's just been a really weird year, and it's just a shame that that has happened. But I don't put a lot of faith in Alex Smith. I mean, he threw for 300 yards and 3 picks. He is who he is. It's great to see him out there. I'll give him that. Great to see him out there. But,
another horrible injury.
Right. Horrible. So
was he on turf too? It's a good point, John.
I can't remember.
I'm not sure. I don't think that was a turf thing. Didn't he just get it? I don't think so. I don't think it was like a cleat sticking, was it? I forget how the
all I know is it was gruesome.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
I remember watching it, but
that's one of them things you have. Trevor, what's up, Trevor? Trevor, check it. Trevor says NFC East quarterbacks don't do leg workouts.
Trevor might be onto something right there. Everybody skips leg day, so
he said Alex Smith was on grass, FedEx Field.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so there you go. So yeah, I mean, so Mike, we're in a driver's seat, I think. I mean, it's crazy, but the Eagles are in a driver's seat.
That's got disaster written all over it. Look, I didn't want to even say what I said about the Dallas game, and coming up into halftime, it looked like that we could possibly lose that game, which was crazy. I mean, they pulled away at the end. They did what they needed to do. But that game was closer than the score showed. They played the Eagles, just tried to give them the game every chance they got. And it was the Eagles, they were in the driver's. They could have did whatever they wanted, but they just kept screwing up. I don't know, man. I don't really have much confidence in any of these games anymore because just when you think that they're starting to get their act together, Carson Wentz does some crazy stuff, and it just doesn't seem like that they have any kind of cohesiveness or anything. I mean, it's so hard to say that they're going to come out and definitively win this game. I mean, yes, they should. You're right. The Giants really don't have anything to lose right now, and the Eagles, maybe their mindset is we can make a run here, so they do have everything to lose because let's face it, guys. After this year, with the team being in the salary cap position that they're in, which is, to me, is inexcusable for Howie Roseman, the bean counter under Joe Banner, for them to even be in this situation, to me is preposterous, number one, because he can't draft, or maybe we talked about that before, but that's not his strong suit. His strong suit's supposed to be salary cap management, and the team's getting old, man. So, and with Carson Wentz playing like not the way that he should be playing, there's a lot of question marks after this year. So maybe you're right. Maybe they weren't sellers at the trade deadline because they thought that the NFC East is weak and they could make a run. So the point is, if they don't do something this year, it's going to be a long time before we see them flirt with the playoffs, I think.
I completely agree. John, what do you think? Are we poised to make this run right now? And if we do, let me add this one in for you too. And if we do make the run and we do make the playoffs, is everything forgotten about this year?
Not if you make the playoffs and it's one and done. No. Because it could be one stinker in the first game of the playoffs, and it doesn't matter if you went 6-2. It doesn't matter if you went 6-2 going in, and one and done is what tarnishes it. Look, there's a tough road ahead. All right. Giants, it's their defense. Like, their offense is not imposing. I'm not worried about that. The Eagles defense should get a couple turnovers, no question to me. The Giants defense, they're a lot better now than they were at the beginning of the year. But, let's say we win the Giants game. You're at Cleveland. Okay, that's going to be a tough one. It's an away game. Defense, the passing defense isn't all that great. Seattle, Do you envision Wentz actually taking advantage of Seattle's passing defense? I can't. And then you got Green Bay, Saints, Cardinals. Those are all, I mean,
Tough
you could
games.
go 0-4 there, but then you close out with Dallas and Washington. You pick up those other 2 wins. So in reality, if you get the Giants and the Browns, you get the Cowboys and the Washington football team, you lose the other 4. I'm not saying that you're going to lose the other 4. I think you go 1-3. I mean, so not to rain on the parade, but I mean, those are some good teams there.
No question.
So
no question.
I mean, you're looking at a 500 record, but you win the division. All you need is a couple cards to fall right.
And then what?
That's the question.
Mm-hmm.
So you win the division, you sneak into the playoffs. What happens then? And I understand once you're in, anything can happen. And we've seen it before.
That's when the cards need to fall right. That's what I'm saying. I don't care if it's a fluke play, whatever. I mean, let's be real. When the Eagles won the Super Bowl, I'm not saying there was a much better team than this team. No question. There was a lot better leadership, cohesiveness, drive, desire. I mean, check all those boxes, no question. But, they made things fall right for them. So it's, you got to do it again. You got to show that passion. It's not who's best through week 8. You know what I mean? You look at how many teams go deep in the playoffs. They hit that stride in the first, second week of December and just start hitting the groove. And those are the teams you got to worry about, not the teams that go 1-2, 1-2 leading in. I don't care if you're the Baltimore Ravens. If you're 1-2 going into the playoffs, that's not a good situation to be in.
No, not at all. And you hit some really good points, and I agree with you 100%. They really could go 0-4 during that stretch, and then you're counting on, picking up wins over these scrap bum teams that are left in the NFC East. I mean, what's the point of all of this? Again, they could make a run, and they have no choice but to do this for sure. But if it ends up the way we all feel like it's going to end up, and they wind up just hurting their draft capital, it's just like, is that it? I mean, what happens now? I mean, there's so many questions going into the offseason. In the event that the season was over tomorrow, does Howie Roseman still have a job? Why? How come nobody's talking about Jim Schwartz because he saved the day a couple of days? That guy's a stiff. Does he still stay around? Is Jake Elliott still the kicker? I mean, we can go on and on and on about this team. It's just full of garbage and holes.
Look, I want to get into that, but here's my thing. You say,
and I know you love Schwartz, John. I know you love him. I know that's your buddy.
That's Coach
you
Dave.
You say make the playoffs and then what? I mean, all right, and you talk about draft picks. The division's so bad. I mean, how bad can you're going to tank for a draft pick? What's the difference if they don't win the division, don't make the playoffs, what their record is? Where are you going to be picking? 10, 11, 12 versus 22? Yeah. I mean, how much of a difference is that going to make with the way that the Eagles?
With how we drafted, probably not much. So it's a good point. It really doesn't.
You would rather not make the playoffs and get that pick around, let's say 11 or 12, and not make the playoffs than make the playoffs with a shot.
Yeah,
and get pick 22.
I would want to take a run, but it's just to see the way the team is built. Though it's hard to be optimistic. It's just hard. You just see some of these killer teams that are out there right now, and you're just like, can these guys really compete? It's tough.
That's the thing. I mean, Andre said we're going to make a run, but it would be fool's gold because the coaching is going to get exposed against elite coaches against Doug, right? Sad part is 7-8 wins division and then get exposed. I mean, it's true. I mean, I think we're putting a little pressure on Deuce. I think the rotation of the running backs stink. Got to put talent on the field. It's a good point.
Does he have carte blanche with the rotation?
From what
Peterson,
assistant head coach? I think he does. I think, if you hear all the press conferences, they ask about that's Deuce. That's Doug always says. That's Deuce. That's Deuce's department. I let Deuce run the running backs.
Okay, but let's say, for instance, you're running a company and you're the CEO and someone's asking you about something. Are you just going to turn around and deflect the question and say, well, you know what, the department manager handles that, so you're going to have to ask them that question? I mean,
we are talking about Doug, we're talking about Doug, though.
Yeah, but it's ridiculous, man. He's just I've heard him say that, Tone. You're right. I keep forgetting. Oh, that's Deuce's. What is that?
Yeah, but to your point, though, is kind of right when you think about it. So if Doug's calling a play, right, he doesn't know who to run back. So at the end of the day,
that's a great point.
right? So he's got to know who's going to be in there.
Exactly.
So
yeah. I'm going to call a pass. I'm going to call a flank pass for Boston Scott, and we're just going to hope that Boston Scott's in on that package. Yeah. Come on, man. How come nobody ever even asked that question before? You're right. You're 100% right.
He's got to know. He's got to be in full. He has to be 100%. That's why, again, this all comes down to Doug. It all comes down to Doug again. I'm sorry. Comes down.
Andre brings up a good point. Nobody puts pressure on Deuce. He's been sitting in the back. He's done a good job. He's questionable sometimes, but he's done an overall good job. He was one of the few carryovers, I guess, from the Chip Kelly era. Yep. I mean, he's definitely loved in town. Everybody respects him, but it always seems like the dude gets a pass and the spotlight's not on him ever.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's because everybody kind of questions about how much rain and how much pull he really has. Everything you see about him. I mean, you think about it when these guys come in, they play really well. I mean, Boston Scott, the guy plays pretty well when he comes in.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So it's so Deuce must have them prepared. The problem though is it comes down to play calling again. This comes down to play calling, and it's very vanilla. And I said this today earlier. I was on a Daily Ticket, and I'm talking to Brace, and I'm like, listen, what I don't understand is like I'm watching it was a great day. That, like you said, Mike, no stress the Eagles. Let's just watch the NFL play out. And I'm watching guys like Josh Allen. I'm watching Justin Herbert. I'm watching Tua. I'm watching Kyler Murray. I'm watching Garrett Gilbert, for Christ's sake, making plays. I'm watching teams that are completely dismantled, having injuries as well, losing offensive linemen, losing defensive linemen, losing receivers. But somehow, some way, they still find a way to look good. And we just suck. So
and that was us in 2017. That was us.
Exactly. Next man up, right? Well, what happened? I'm glad you brought that up because that's what I'm going to ask all these Eagle fans because I am an Eagle fan, okay? That's why I'm so passionate. But at the end of the day, all the people on Twitter that want to come out, all the Twitter trolls, let me ask you something. What happened to next man up? In 2017, it was all good to say, oh, next man up. You know why? Because it worked. Now it's not working. So nobody wants to talk. Now they want to play the narrative of, oh, it's so many injuries. We have so many injuries.
God, I love when I hear that. Right? That's the best.
Right. Stop it. Come on. You weren't talking that game in 2017. Okay. You have to be, as a head coach, you have to prepare your team to be able to play every single week. So that brings me to the next question. Is the leash, John, I'll go to you first. Is the leash after the bye shorter for Carson Wentz?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think they have a better option at quarterback. I mean, is the bottom line. Jalen Hurts, you're not going to bring in a rookie. I'm not a Jalen Hurts believer. All right. I wasn't from the get-go. I'm not even talking about the draft capital spent to get him. I didn't feel that he would be a good NFL quarterback. You want to send a message for one game if you're on a losing streak, so be it. But he is not the answer, and I think Carson knows that his job is safe. Like unless they have a losing streak, Jalen Hurts comes in and ends up winning 2 games in a row. Okay, that's a different story, a la Tom Brady, Drew Bledsoe, or something along those lines. But I think it's Wentz's job. He's going to own it, and I think he got a long leash, and I still think that Doug Peterson or whoever is calling the darn plays needs to do a better job. Why don't they stack 3 receivers out wide and just do a quick throw out?
Never see that.
Never see it. Give him a couple quick throws where it's just a quick decision. Boom, just hit the guy. I don't care. Get an incomplete pass. But put him in a position to just get a 3-yard gain. You know what I mean? Get a 4-yard gain.
You also have to read the hot reads, though, John. And he has hot reads, and he doesn't read them properly.
Absolutely.
Right? So he doesn't have ways to throw short passes. He just chooses not to.
Yeah. No, he is not going through the right progressions.
No.
Whatsoever. But the point is, don't even let him get through the progression. Make him 2-step pass a couple times. I mean, how many times have you actually seen? I mean, look, I'll be honest. I don't watch every play of every game. Some games I watch the whole games all the way through, sometimes not. How many times have you seen him take a 2-step, 3-step drop and just fire?
Not many.
Not many at all. No, he's holding the ball too long. Indecisiveness. He just looks a mess. It's just such a shame. It's just so depressing to even talk about this.
I was thinking about this earlier.
That's
now,
terrible.
just picture this. How is this offense if Miles Sanders is in there, doesn't get hurt, the offensive line is intact? And I know any team can wish for no injuries, but the Eagles have been hit hard. The offensive line is intact. You have Alshon, you have Deshaun, you have Ertz, and you have Goddard. I mean, think about this now. Like, it's there. I mean, it was a lot of, well, you could call Alshon unfortunate or not with, I mean, the injury was definitely unfortunate, but, you're kind of asking for some things with these guys, especially Deshaun Jackson, knowing the history. But think of what that team could be. I mean, how would Wentz be a much better quarterback with that, all of that, less pressure dumped on to Sanders? You know what I mean? His safety blanket Ertz.
I honestly don't know.
There's guys that are out there.
I don't know either.
There's ballers that are out there. There's guys that have stepped up and shown up, and they got ballers out there. And yeah, these other guys are obviously the starters. They're better, but remember, we talked about this before. It's the NFL, and it's so easy to call somebody a scrub. Okay, but Richard Rodgers was the man in grade school. He was the man in high school. He was the man in college. Okay. I understand, for lack of a better phrase, the cream comes to the top when you're in the NFL. I get all that, but all these players are good. And you know what? A good quarterback is a good leader that can process information fast, that could read defenses, that could understand the flow and move with the flow and the mojo of the coach and make everybody around him better. And none of those things are happening with Carson Wentz. None of them.
Nothing.
None. Zero. Completely regressed. And I am so sick and tired of everybody giving this guy excuses. Oh, he doesn't have this or he doesn't have that. Let's go back to McNabb. Look at the tools or whatever you want to call the guys that played with Donovan McNabb, because when I ran through a lot of those videos, I forgot some of these guys, I mean, Charles Johnson, dude, Torrance Small, I mean, James Thrash, Todd Pinkston. I mean, how many people do you want to name that McNabb made great and McNabb made these plays? And I don't want to compare McNabb to Wentz, but, at some point you got to stop giving the guy excuses. He's paid like a premium quarterback. Okay, and he's paid because he's one of 32 guys that can do this job, and he's not been doing the job effectively at all. And he's gritted it out. He's gritted some wins, and all everybody wants to do is point and to say, you know what? If it wasn't for Carson, we wouldn't have won those games. Yeah, but if it wasn't for Carson, we wouldn't be in this position.
Yeah, you're right. That's the top. I mean, there's so many ways to look at this. Like I said before, I mean, Carson has won his 3 games, lost his 4 games. I mean, it is that. Andre texts in, and decisiveness can't be a factor in a 3-step drop. I completely agree. We keep saying it's a disconnect between knowledge and execution. Now, and I don't want to get on this long today because I think it's all getting stuck because we keep talking about the same thing and we can't help it because we're so damn passionate about
frustrated.
it. But John, what I will say to you is I know you're not a Jalen Hurts guy, and I'm not going to be the president of the Jalen Hurts fan club here, okay? But I'm going to run 3 names at you real fast, okay? Because I knew this would come up, so I did my homework, okay? Jake Luton, 6th round pick. Throws for 304 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Drew Lock, 2nd round pick. Throws for 313 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Garrett Gilbert, 6th round pick. Throws for 243, 1-1. Why on God's earth do people feel Jalen Hurts cannot play? These 3 guys come in not expecting to do anything, and they can produce. I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is going to win a freaking Super Bowl. What I'm saying is I'm tired of people saying this kid can't play. How can he not play? You know why those 3 guys can play? And Drew Lock is obviously more talented than the other 2 guys because they had the coaching and they had the right plays call and the right preparation in order to win those games.
Absolutely.
Right? So why do people keep saying Jalen Hurts can't play?
I don't
understand it.
I don't know.
No, I'm not. I don't get where that comes from. I'm not saying that he's great. I'm not, oh my God, he's going to be Tua. He's going to be Kyler Murray. I'm not saying that. But my thing is, these 3 guys play pretty damn well. They play pretty damn well. And Drew Lock has a first round wide receiver he's throwing to. It's Jerry Jeudy. Okay.
Sure.
And he has another and Tim Patrick and Noah Fant. These aren't tremendous weapons. Okay. I mean, come on. Like, we got to stop saying that. I'm telling you what, the leash is short. I'm telling you right now, the leash is short. This week, if Carson turns the ball over 2 times, he's out. I'm telling you right now.
Middle of the game, you think he's going to get the hook?
I think Doug Peterson is finally going to succumb to the pressure. I'm telling you, if we're down, John, if we're down 21-3,
I think we need a bet here.
I'm in.
I
think you guys have to have a bet, and we have to throw out like something like really good food that we can have Uber Eats delivered to each one of your houses, and I'll mediate. So I'll take care of the ordering.
Yeah.
So what's it going to be? So, John, what's the over-under on Hurts getting yanked? You don't think it's going to happen at all, John? And Tony says 2 turnovers, he's out.
Peterson doesn't have the marbles to do
Wow.
Period.
I think Peterson has prayed to God extra special this week and, asked him to bestow on him a pair of cojones that he doesn't really have to say, you know what? I need to win a game. And if I'm going to lose a game, the problem is I can't. I can't lose, especially in the NFC East. Can't lose it.
Yeah, okay, maybe, but let's try to switch roles a little bit and try to make an assumption on what we think might be happening. So who were those 2 coaches that Peterson said, oh, yeah, they're coming back, and then the next day they were fired? Who was it? It was Mike Groh and so it's almost like when he said, oh, yeah, they're coming back, and then, your boy Jeff Lurie called down and said, they're not, they're out of here. We're making a change. Then right away, Peterson never addressed that situation. So what I've heard during the offseason, and again, unsubstantiated, but just the stuff that you read, who knows how much of it is true or whatever, but that Carson Wentz and Jeffrey Lurie have a tight relationship. Let's just hypothetically say that that's true.
Okay.
Will Peterson be afraid of catching flack if he benches Wentz and destroys his confidence even more? Because I'm going to tell you something right now. See Wentz, mentally, we know he's fragile. Not physically. Dude is tough as nails. You know what I mean? He's tough, dude. Anybody that could play like that and come back from that kind of injury, you'd never question his heart. But mentally, it looks like he's fragile. Maybe it's just this year. I don't know. But if this dude gets benched for Jalen Hurts, and let's just say, okay, since we're playing imagination, let's just say you're right, Tone. Let's just say he goes in and he balls out and he throws for a couple of touchdowns and he wins the game. What happens then?
That's the problem. But unfortunately, I said that before. I really feel like if Jalen Hurts goes into the game, that he doesn't come back out. I think I do. I keep saying that, and I don't want to beat a dead drum, and we are going to move on in a minute. Listen, I sit there and I watch, and I know I'm going to get flack for this, but I really don't care. I watch Russell Wilson. I watched Tua this week. I watched Kyler Murray. I watched the evolution of these quarterbacks, these hybrid quarterbacks that can run all over the place. And when I mean run, we're not talking about Steve McNair run. We're talking about these guys are run. They're making people miss like ridiculously. Like remember that shake that McNabb had against Washington?
Yeah,
like
did.
that. Right. Okay. This is what they're doing.
The juke. Yeah,
the juke.
Exactly.
It was ridiculous, right? It was ridiculous. And again, this is what I'm saying. So. For me, in my opinion, because we've seen such a think about it, guys. This offense has been abysmal at times. It's been so vanilla. It's when it made you fall asleep. And all of a sudden, this shiny new toy comes in, and he gets a little energy. And before you know it, the sidelines getting energetic. The coaches are getting energetic. It's contagious
For sure.
Right. And so that again, maybe that could be the reason why Doug doesn't want to change.
You've been saying that for a while now, and we all know that that offense is built around the run pass option. It's an RPO based offense, right? So when you think about it, theoretically, a player of Hurts's caliber should be able to run that offense better. I guess that's why they drafted him high. I mean, they didn't draft him in the second round to just be this, this Taysom type of plug-in gadget player. I don't think. And maybe they're doing that just to sort of get him warmed up. But you're right. the guy can play, and he definitely can run that offense. I mean, Nick Foles ran a better
100%.
RPO than Carson Wentz did, and he was a freaking statue. So
absolutely,
if he comes in and gets a shot and he starts bowling, you might be right, Tone. That could be the end. And I think he can really play. I think it's just a matter of salvaging what we have. And I think the Eagles were caught in a kind of a weird time. I know they gave Wentz a lot of money, but they sort of had to because of the timing, right? So,
yes.
And they wound up getting him cheaper in terms of what they could have paid him if they would have compared his deal to someone else, and I forget who it was. So they had no choice but to sign him at that point. And you couldn't keep Foles as a starter because Foles as a starter was garbage. He was great coming in, but he wasn't a star. He's not starter material, or at least he wasn't anyway. So we know that's why they made that decision.
Looks like he's wearing a bulletproof vest on the football field.
A flak jacket. Yeah, he's got a flak jacket on.
Come on, dude. Stop. Like,
you're right,
seriously.
Tone. I think if they get a shot at Jalen Hurts, the shiny new toy, and he starts running it, then it just doesn't bode well for Carson Wentz. 17 turnovers the Eagles have, and Wentz has 16 of them. Who's going to defend what I just said? Go ahead. Exactly. Defend what I just said.
That's the problem. Andre, maybe one of the comments, and I love this. Doug is the epitome of the phrase, even a garbage can get a steak if you hang around steakhouse long enough. I love it. Even a garbage can get the steak if you hang around the steakhouse long enough.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Andre's bringing the heat.
It is great, man. It is great. Oh, Lord, Trevor says this sounds like Dan Snyder or Robert Griffin. I don't know.
Let's hope not.
Andre says Carson is the Paul George of the NFL.
Oh,
wow. Look at that.
Wow.
Andre coming in hot. Trevor says Jalen Hurts balls out, gets on the phone, and order your Hurts jersey now. See, I'm telling you, that's what they're afraid of.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah,
look, I'm not saying that he can't ball out. If he comes in relief of Wentz in any given game and wins that game and gets to start the next week and doesn't give it up, absolutely, that is absolutely possible. But if I'm a good head coach and I'm even thinking that that's in the realm of possibilities, how many pass attempts does Jalen Hurts have on the year? Do I not just bring in Jalen Hurts for a freaking series every game if I think that I'm going to trust him with running the offense if I got to yank my starter? Why do you not run him for a series in any given game? That's why I don't think he's getting yanked. Either that or Peterson's a complete idiot.
John,
so pick one.
Let me ask you this before we move on. I got to ask you this. You're a soccer coach, just like I am. Okay. And guess what? Just pretend that the kids that we coach are paid players, okay? And you pay your goalie X amount of money because he's number one on potential, but number two, he can be really good. You continually lose game after game because he's giving up 3 and 4 goals. And you got another kid sitting on the bench that you brought in from another program that's kind of like you see it in him, but you're really not sure, but if he goes in, that he may never come out. You're not making that change. You're going to keep giving up 4 goals a game. You're going to make that change.
Yes, I will make the change, but I will make it for a half. And the following week, my starting goalie is still the starting goalie, but I will give him exposure before I turn the reins over to him. So it's a little bit different in soccer where you have complete halves.
No, I get it.
But yeah, so yes, you give him a shot, but no, the reins have not changed as to who my starter is. But you get a feel for what this guy can do. And a goalie's a little different than and I get the anecdotal there.
Yeah,
it's not just how he is and the athlete he is, but it's like don't just put him in there on 4 plays and have all 4 plays be run plays that are happening. Give him a pass attempt. Give him a series. Like, don't punish Wentz. Just say, just like back years ago when the Wildcat was like new. It's like you run the Wildcat for like a series or whatever. You throw it in there more than just, I'm gonna bring Hurts in. I'm gonna run the ball.
No, you're right. But what if he just that would be the logical way to handle it. But what if he just continues to keep playing the way he's been playing? How long does it go on for before you're finally like, I'm not just going to use Hurts or whoever in a series. I'm going to turn the keys over to the kid and see what he can do. I've seen enough. Now, again, we're in Philadelphia. We're impatient. We're irrational. We don't make a lot of sense sometimes. We always call for the backup quarterback, no matter who it is. There's always a quarterback controversy. There's always a drama in the city of Philadelphia, right? It's just who we are. It's always going to happen. It was a matter of time before they start calling for Hurts. But man, Wentz isn't making it any easier. I mean, that play that he made when he threw the ball up in the air, I can't get it out of my head. I watched it 5,000 times when he spun around, and I don't know what he did or what that was, but that was a horrible, horrible decision. And you don't expect to see stuff like that coming out of a guy that's been in the league for 5 years, that's being paid as a premium quarterback or even regarded as a premium quarterback. He's somewhere else mentally right now. And, I just don't think that this situation may be, all right, well, the quarterback's not playing well. Maybe we should give the backup a series or two and then, put him back in. This just looks like a total dismantling of Carson Wentz.
It does. And I'm going to say two things. We get to our trivia question here. And Andre, 100% spot on. Hurts' role is being executed in New Orleans with number 7. The Eagles are missing an opportunity to do the same because of Doug. That's all I'm going to say about Hurts. 100% completely agree. The last thing I'm going to say, and this again goes against the narrative that I hear, on this goes on national networks as well as local networks. And everybody talks about, hey, well, did you see Russell Wilson just throw the ball up? Hey, when Aaron Rodgers just throws the ball, everybody says, oh, they just talking up it's okay. Let me just say something. Again, Aaron Rodgers has won something. Russell Wilson has won. Stop comparing Carson Wentz to Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. We have to stop that correlation. Right now, it's not the same. You can't base on what these prestigious quarterbacks are doing compared to what Carson Wentz is doing. Just can't do it. It just doesn't have. It doesn't have the same context. It doesn't make the same sense. Okay,
compare him to Jared Goff.
There you go. And I hate Jared Goff. He stinks.
I'm not a golf fan at all. He looks like who's that actor out of L.A. Looks just like Jared Goff. God.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about. He's super popular. I just can't remember who he is. He looks just like him. Every time I see his stupid face, I think of Jared Goff.
Jared Goff. Dude, you can take off. Steal money.
Just stop.
Another one. So let's get to Eagles trivia question for this week. I see if anybody can get this one. Whose 9 interceptions in a season put him at second on the Eagles' most picks in the season list? That's an interesting one. So who's 9 interceptions in a season? Guy had 9 interceptions in the season, and it put him at second on the Eagles' most picks in the season list. So he's now again, we had a lot of good cornerbacks for the Philadelphia Eagles. But again, this is a trivia question, so you never know who this may be. So again, somebody checking in, give us an answer. We'll hold ours for later. But again, who's 9 interception in the season? God damn it, Trevor. God, Trevor gets it right off the bat. He's Asante Samuel. And he's not even a damn Philadelphia fan.
I hope you didn't Google that.
That was pretty fast. I'll give it. Trevor could pull some out, dude. If it was somebody else on Twitch or something, but nah, Trevor got it, man. That's good. That's a really good pull, man.
And by the way, it was Ryan Gosling. It looks like
Jared Goff. Ryan Gosling. You're right. That dude, I can't believe Trevor this week. John, who was it a couple weeks ago? Was Lynch, Bob Lynch, or all of a sudden I was like, what? Wow, Trevor, good pull, bro. Good pull. I'll tell you what. For my money, Asante Samuel, one of my favorite players ever for the Eagles. I loved Asante Samuel. I know he didn't want to tackle, but I didn't care. I just liked his persona.
Well, he brought an attitude.
I loved it. He brought that New England, right? He says, excuse me, Ryan Gosling is Cliff Kingsbury. Yeah, you know what?
It's true.
That's crazy. They can have like a threesome. That's scary, man. That is scary. But that's good. That shortens a segment, which is good. Thank you, Trevor. I appreciate that. But let me ask you guys something, because I want to stick with the NFL before we move on, and we'll throw some predictions out there for the Eagles game later.
I think Cliff is spelled with a K too, by the way. Just a little typo there.
It's Trevor. Double K. Double K. It's double K. Like Kyle. What's Kyle Korver? Double K. Yeah, right. Andre says I was going to go old school with Herm Edwards. Wow. He was going to go back. Andre was trying to get the instant pull there with Herm Edwards. But listen, looking at, we mentioned these names earlier, and I'm curious to your guys' take, because I think right now in the NFL, you have 2 style quarterbacks, and Justin Herbert and Josh Allen both are balling, right? Taller stature guys, stronger, mobile, but very powerful arms. And then you have the Tuas and the Kyle Murray, smaller guy, a lot faster, not as deep of an arm, but makes plays. If it were you and your franchise, Mike, I'll start this one with you. It's your franchise. You could pick one of those prototypes. Which one are you going with and why? Who do you like better? Watson, do you like the one prototype or the other one's better? It's a tough one, man.
It's not an easy question to answer. No. But I mean, and you've been hammering this point now for weeks. It just seems like the NFL is moving more towards that hybrid type of quarterback. And when they tried to do it before, I don't know if the NFL wasn't ready for it or if the athletes weren't ready for it. I don't know, maybe it was a combination of both, because it seems like every couple of years that's what the trend is, right? They get away from the pocket passers and the statues that we like to call them, and they move into this hybrid approach. Well, now, I think since Mahomes basically redefined the quarterback position, everybody wants to find the next Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
So this is which way they're going. I mean, Tua is a really exciting player for me, man, and I would certainly have to lean on that side because the upside of this guy is absolutely tremendous. I mean, it's just unbelievable when you see this kid play, and it looks like he's completely over that injury. And the Dolphins are going to be a team that I had said during a previous episode that by the end of the year you're probably not going to want to play them because they just keep getting better and better and better.
Great head coach. Brian Flores.
Yeah.
That Tua was 20 of 28. I mean, listen, man. We could say 20 of 28.
That's not too shabby.
Yeah, for all the people out there said he couldn't throw, guy wasn't accurate, he's not a good passer. See, this is why I hate when people talk. Sometimes let the kid play, and let it go and see what happens. And listen, he's proven no specters wrong, man.
That took a lot of guts to pull Fitz Magic out, especially when he was hot. But we all know what Fitz Magic is, right? Fitz Magic just is, he gets super streaky, and then he loses 5 games, right? But everybody's like, "Oh, you're pulling him out. He's doing great." They knew it. They knew they'd get this kid to start playing, and Tua looks like he's everything is advertised.
Yeah, you're right, Mike. I don't know. It's a good point because it's almost like, when you look back that they try to do this before with the RG3s, right? We remember that, but it just was a different league then, like you said. I mean, I don't ever remember, probably in the past 3 or 4 years, that rookies at every position have played so much. You're very dependent on the draft of the NFL franchise. If your picks do not play, you are not going to win. Simple as that. And we're seeing that play out more and more and more. Now, is it because the players are more prepared coming from college and the NFL, or is it, which I think is because you're playing more of a college style offense and a college style game inside the NFL now because of these new coaches? I mean, you got, whether it be Kingsbury, whether it be McDreamy out there in LA, right? I mean, you're talking about these young coaches coming in, playing this up-tempo style football. So, and it just plays into the hands of all these young guys. It really does. John, what do you think? I mean, you're looking at a franchise at Big Ben he's one leg out the door. So if you had a chance to replace Big Ben, what style quarterback are you going after? Are you going after the Herbert Allen type or the Murray Tua type? What do you think?
See, I almost don't see those as the two opposite sides.
No.
I mean, in reality, I want a quarterback. Number one, I need a smart quarterback. I don't care if you're big or tall. I want to see you're smart, how you read defenses. Look, what I want in a quarterback is escapability. I don't need you to run for 50 yards. Look, we know that Mahomes is one of the best. I don't care about his running ability. It is him reading a defense, his athletic ability, but it's all because of how he reads the defense and what he does. His athletic ability makes him elite on top of his smartness of the sport. So I want a guy that's smart, number one. I don't care if you're taking off for long runs, but I want you to be smart enough to look for the open guy, make your reads, and if it's not there and you see a lane, be able to take that 15 yards. So I mean, I didn't really answer your question side.
Okay.
And I will say, I don't know what the longevity is of some of these quarterbacks. All right. I don't see Josh Allen. Look, he's having a great year. and he may be a very good quarterback for years to come. But I don't believe that his body is going to be able to take the punishment if he continues to rush for 9 touch. I mean, look at Cam Newton. Cam Newton was the same. What is he now? He's beat up because he took a ton. You could say it's different. He's beat up, and now he is relying on his passing ability. Look, what's his face? Josh Allen is not an accurate passer. He still isn't. I'm sticking to that. And so he needs to develop his passing game to have longevity in the league. And some of these guys that, do a lot of running but aren't good passers, I don't, look, go sign them for that contract after their rookie year. But I think a lot of teams will make big mistakes.
John said, he said an interesting point, the processing of information fast, right? So you got to be able to look at the defense and got to be able to know what's coming at you, and then be able to adjust the offense. I mean, you're talking milliseconds. They got to process all this information. And think about it. There's an entire defensive coordinator, an entire team that are all scheming to beat you and to show you looks to confuse you and everything else. So you have to, the amount of information these guys not only have to remember, but process on the fly is unbelievable. And Mahomes, because just like you said, John, not only does he have all that, but then he's got this insane physical ability to do things that not many players can do on top of that, which makes him the ultimate weapon. And I believe Tua is a lot like that, cut in that mold, which is why I said to it. But that's what everybody wants right now. So I agree with John 100%. It all starts with the brain power, no question about it.
Trevor says, am I lean that I like a pocket passer that can scramble when necessary, like that kid Kyle Trask kid?
No, he's old school. You're just old school, man. It's everybody wants that. We all want that, but
just don't watch Phillip Rivers falling down trying to tackle someone. That's gonna
Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Famer. He can do whatever he wants.
But dude, we gotta play that meme over and over again. Andre says exactly what you just said, Mike, and same thing with you, John. Mahomes doesn't get enough credit for manipulating the defense before the snap, which leads to open lanes and blown coverages. I agree with John on this. I again, because you know why, Andre, you know what football is. That's a lot of people don't know football. A lot of people don't realize how important that position is. Everybody killed that Wonderling test. Well, there's a reason why they give that test. Because of what Mike said, processing information.
I didn't do too well on that test.
I did Vince Young, but
I wonder how Ben DiNucci did.
I don't know how he did.
Benucci.
I'm curious, man. But so I mean, I don't know. I would definitely go. I think, I lean more towards a 2 in the collar guy because, Mike, you talked about the RPO, and that RPO is so deadly. If you have the right, it's so deadly. And you watch teams, they can't. You can't defend that. You just can't. If you have a good blocking scheme, you cannot defend that. It's impossible. It's like a penalty kick for a goalie in soccer. I don't care how good you are. You just got to pick a side, and you got to hope that that's the side the guy kicks it at. Right? I mean, it's just you got 1 second to think, and that's it. I mean, one thing I will say is I'm very, very excited about now being able to just watch the NFL game. And watching these young guys, I'll tell you what, whether you watch Red Zone, whether you watch a game, it doesn't matter, but there's an exciting play all the time. And the NFL has definitely upped their ante when it comes to being exciting and putting out a product that people cannot live without. Let's face it. We cannot live without the NFL.
Now you're just basically saying that you're done with Wentz. Put Hurts in because I want to be like everybody else. I want to see the shiny new toy. Go ahead, say it. Let's get to the important stuff, John. What are we going to bet? I want to see some sort of a food bet here. I'm holding you guys to this bet. All right, so let's just clear the air really quick.
Well,
Tony says 2 quarters.
We got Portnoy going around in Barstool testing all these Philly pizzas and cheesesteaks and I don't know. I never had an Angelo steak. I keep hearing Angelo's.
Well, I haven't had an Angelo steak, but their pizza, let me tell you something, is unbelievable. I mean, I think he gave it like a 9.1 or a 9.2 or something outrageous. I'm telling you, it's unbelievable. And I heard their cheesesteaks are insane also.
So I think we got to bet a cheesesteak and a pizza from Angelo's. And
wow,
I think that's got to be on the card.
The gauntlet has been thrown down, John. Do you accept the challenge?
And this is for Wentz getting pulled this week if the Giants are down.
Remember, if they're down and I said he turns the ball over 2 times.
Down by what?
I said they're down like say 21-3. Said because of
Give
the
me
two turnovers.
give me a point spread. What do they have to be down
you want
by?
a point spread? 14.
All right, 14 or more.
14 or more
Yeah,
with
but
two turnovers.
14 or more, and then you got to, that means that you're going to win if it's less than 14 and he doesn't get pulled. What if he gets pulled in the third quarter and they're up, they're down 10?
No, I don't. If he gets
too many scenarios there.
If he gets I don't care. If he gets yanked because they're losing and his turnovers caused it.
Okay.
Okay, I mean that's fair. That's fair, right? Yeah.
They're going to lead. I mean, those turnovers are going to lead the points. I mean, it's as simple as that.
That's going to run you about $25 for the pizza and the cheesesteak. So
all good.
I just want to have a meal in public with Tony. You know what I mean?
That's I know. Yeah, that's good, man.
Like, do I really lose? I mean, Mikey, you can't come with us.
I would love to, but you can. You know what? You guys can. I can video in and I can watch you eat it.
We'll Zoom.
Yeah, because that would suck majorly because that food is amazing.
Yeah, we'll have a Zoom meeting.
There we go.
All. We'll have a Zoom meeting at Angelo's. That's the way it's going to go. 100%. So let's flip this from basketball. First, I want to talk about a little basketball from football, and the reason why is I'm just going to make it short on this. But the Sixers unveiled their new jerseys today. Their new city jerseys, which has Boathouse Row in the background. And for some reason, they got trashed. I don't understand it. I think they were hot as hell. Loved them. I really liked how they came out. Even they had they have a Sonic TTP kind of in that you could try to make out like people say they seen God up in the clouds. It's the same kind of thing, right? But I thought they were hot, man.
Yeah, I liked it too.
Right, yeah, right. I mean, and my question is, were people dogging it just because it was Ben Simmons? Like, do you think if Joel Embiid came out wearing it, that it wouldn't get as much flack, but because it was Ben? I mean, they got killed for it. Like, literally got killed. I was really surprised. I do. I really like the jersey. I can't wait to see him wear it. And I was really surprised. So, speaking on that, I just want to real quick to get a quick consensus. And I know Andre will like this, but you hear so many things, and I'm still on record as saying, I know Andre disagrees with me, but I still say Ben Simmons will not be part of this team in December. I still think he is gone. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. No substance, no resources, no sources, no nothing. But that being said, say it's not, and Andre's right. Does Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, and Ben Simmons, is that enough with Doc Rivers to get you a ring? I don't think it is.
You already know the answer to that.
So, and that's the problem I keep having going back and forth, that if it's not enough, how can you make it be enough without moving one of those pieces? Don't think it can happen. I don't think it can happen. And that's just my point. When I look at an NBA and I look at a Eastern Conference that is now going to have guys like Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, I look at a stronger Celtics team again. I look at a stronger Indiana team. I know Toronto is still going to be tall and still going to be forceful because of who they are and what they represent. I mean, listen, if there's no changes except those three guys, I just don't think that those three guys are enough. I don't think Doc Rivers is what takes them over the top. There needs to be another move. And I know the Buddy Hield thing's out there, and I know a lot of people think that, listen, you're not getting Buddy Hield for Mike Scott. Stop. Right? Stop. Like, people, like, you're not getting the point. Like, I love when people play fantasy GM. It's like, I always say, think about this. If you were running a team, are you taking Mike Scott for Buddy? Hell no. Hell no. You're not doing it. So I just think we're in for a lot of changes coming up. And I just wanted your guys' opinion on what you think, about the big three and about the jerseys. Like you say, you like the jerseys, right? I think you agree with me about you don't think the Sixers can win with those three, correct?
I don't. But again, I mean, I'm coming from the school of I'm sort of just tired of it, and I want to see something else. I've said this, previous episodes where I'm just sort of done with it. I'm done with the Twitter and the talking and no backing it up and the same old thing every year.
Yeah.
Now, I do love Doc Rivers, right? I do.
Me too.
I think the signing was great, and I believe that if they're going to get anything out of these kids, because they are kids, man. They're young.
Yes, they are.
Then Rivers is just as good as anybody to be able to do that. But I don't think the three of them are enough. And again, when you start talking about the possible free agents that they can bring in here, when you look at the list, man, the people that are out there right now, I don't see anybody out there that I would say we have to go and run and get, because I don't think there's any difference makers that are out there. You can get some role playing guys, you can get some bench guys and stuff like that. I mean, they're going to be out there. But when you're looking at Bellinelli, he's a retread. We had him before. Not that he's not good, but he's a retread. I mean, we're talking about Ruben Amaro as a retread. I can't stand retreads. Solomon Hill, okay, maybe. Kyle Korver. How is Kyle Korver still playing? How old is this kid? Guy.
Kyle Korver's a guy you pick up on a bogus contract at the trade deadline. I mean, come on. You know what I mean? Stop it. They're not useful. I'm sorry. They're not useful. They're not useful.
They're not going to help us, bro. I mean, Austin Rivers isn't going to help us. It's just not. It's if you want to go and you make these trades or these acquisitions, great, but it's going to come down to the nucleus. And do I think those three are enough? No. And you're probably going to have to move one of them in order to get better. And I don't think they're going to be able. I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think Doc Rivers comes here knowing that he's going to trade one of those three. He wants to probably work with them.
I think he does come here knowing he's going to trade one of them.
Yeah, you said you said last episode when we spoke last week. You said that you think he came in here thinking that Simmons was not going to be here, right?
I think he really feels though. Listen. I think as much as see, here's the difference. A lot of people think, this is just Jigsaw's own judgment, okay? But I feel like Doc walked into that room, and everybody thinks that the owners wanted to hear that any coach coming in was going to say, I want to work with these two guys. I think the opposite. I think Doc came in straight up and said, listen, these two guys can't play together. I'm telling you that right now. What we need to do is we need to move one of these guys to get somebody else here that will translate into a winning formula to guarantee you guys a championship. And again, I keep asking the same question. Andre says, of course, Sixers will make a few moves to other teams. Andre's connected. Okay, I can tell you that right now. Andre is connected. And he says, but it's tough. They really don't want to lose Ben. Listen, whether they really don't or not is irrelevant to me. I think they ultimately will, because I asked the same question, and I'll say it again. Whether it's James Harden, whether it's Devin Booker, or whether it's Bradley Beal, if you replace any three of those guys with Ben Simmons, you are a better team, bar none. Bar none. And then if you bring guys like Mike just said, you want to bring in Bellinelli, or you want to bring whatever, that's fine. They're bench guys. But we're talking about these guys coming in to actually play a role. That's not going to happen. Any single one, that's a score that you don't have. It's a score. You don't just throw 30 points into a team a night and not win. It's right. You make listen, here's my point. Joel Embiid can be the best player, the best big man in the NBA. Number one, his conditioning has to get better. Number two, his role within the game has to get better. And I think we all know that. But one thing's for sure, you cannot get better as a team when Joel gets the ball, gets double teamed, and has nobody to pass the ball out to. Okay, he's not the way this team is set up. He passed out to Ben, who is then looking to pass again. No, you pass out to Devin Booker. You pass out to James Harden. You pass out to Bradley Beal. They're shooting the ball. Okay, and then if they're not going to shoot the ball, then that's when Tobias comes into play. So I think the element of this team with somebody else, the dynamic completely changes. And yeah, Mike, I think that's what Doc Rivers knows. I do. I think that's why Daryl Morey is here. I think Daryl Morey is here specifically for that because he has the experience. Think about this. Why is Daryl Morey here then? Why? He's not like seriously. Listen, I know he sounds great. I want to be here with all these guys. Listen. Daryl Morey wants to win. He doesn't have a ring. Daryl Morey doesn't have a ring, right? He wants a ring, which means again, do whatever he has to do to win. And I still think that is moving Ben Simmons. I do. I don't think you have any choice. I don't.
What would it take if you want to move Ben Simmons? What are you expecting, realistically? What do you want?
You want to score.
What's he bring? What's Ben Simmons bring in trade equity?
Well, that's the thing. The thing is, when people have to realize it's just not going to be Ben. It's not like you're just going to get James Harden straight up for Ben or Bradley Beal straight up for Ben. I mean, that just shows you the limitations of Ben. You're going to have to give up more draft capital, right? Draft capital. That's what's going to happen.
It always comes down to draft capital.
Right? It always does, right? It always does. Andre saying Daryl is really here to make a tough move that no one wants to make. That's my point. Andre, that's my point. And again, I've always said if I had to trade Ben Simmons or Joel, I would always trade Joel because I think his stand the test of time is 3 to 4 years tops, okay, because of his conditioning. But at the end of the day, if you can tell me that I can get a guy like James Harden, I get at 31 years old, he's old. Listen, man, your window is this big. If James Harden can come in here and average 36 for 2 years, you're winning a chip, dude. You're winning a chip with this.
So
team.
what's it going to take? What's it going to take to get Harden? What best guess?
I it's definitely going to take Ben, right? So you'll throw Ben, and then you'll throw him some Zaire Smith and probably a first round pick.
God, I hate just hearing that
right?
name.
Think about it. I mean, that's what's going to. But you know what? At the end of the day, who cares? And that's what I keep saying. We had a chance. 3 years ago to get Kawhi Leonard, and everybody said they weren't moving Ben or Joe to get him. And what did Kawhi do? He went to Toronto and did what? Won a friggin' ring. Why? Because he's that good. Same thing could happen here.
Yeah, but certainly they really didn't have to. I mean, they had role players in Toronto, right? But it was all centered around Kawhi. I mean, it certainly could happen.
It's crazy.
So you think they brought Andre thinks they brought Daryl in just to be the scapegoat to make the trade that nobody wants to make. And you know what? That's not a bad theory. I never thought of that.
Remember, he's a hinky guy.
He is a hinky guy.
At the end of the day, he's a hinky guy. And
I'm a hinky guy.
Right? I mean, listen, in Houston, he what did he do? He brought in CP3. He brought in Russell Westbrook. He brought in Paul George. He brought in all these. I mean, he was the guy to make the splash. He was the guy to make the trades.
So he's going to do something. That's for sure.
He's doing something.
He's here for a reason.
Yes. He's here. He's here because he went. I'm telling you, he's with Doc. They talk. This guy was ready to retire. I keep saying he was ready to retire.
Yeah, he was.
Right? So now, what did he want? He wanted a ring, 100%. Yeah, so listen, I just think something's happening. Who knows what it's going to be, but it's going to happen soon, and I think we're all going to be very shocked, but I think it's going to make sense. Now, let's swing over to Major League Baseball real fast, and I think this is hilarious. I can't
here it comes.
I can't stop laughing, okay? Number one, how Tony La Russa still gets a manager's job. It's beyond me. I listen, God bless the guy. Okay. I've always liked La Russa, but he's a little over the hill, isn't he? I mean, come on, but whatever. But here's the story. Chicago White Sox manager Tony La Russa has been charged with driving under the influence from a February arrest. According to court documents, La Russa was arrested in Arizona after he allegedly ran his car into a curb near a Phoenix area road. Reports also notes that La Russa was charged 1 day before the White Sox announced him as their new manager.
What you think they didn't know, did they?
It says a spokesperson says the team was aware of the situation, but wouldn't comment further, citing that it was still an active case. So this is what I have to ask.
What's the issue here with this?
The issue for me is you are a celebrity, right? Why are you driving? For Christ's sake, even in the WE, Alberto Del Rio was driven up to the ring in an arena because he was a celebrity.
Del Rio?
Right? Think about it.
Oh,
right?
John.
Why these guys driving?
Yeah,
Why?
he's a celebrity, Mike.
Like, that's my point. My point is, even guys like Alberto Del Rio are getting driven up from the friggin' entrance to the WWE ring inside an arena because he's too big to drive.
I'm going to tell you why.
Why?
I'm going to tell you why. Because
it's an ego thing.
I'm just going to say, yeah, because you're like, all right, well, I'm out, and we've all done this before, and you're out, and you've had a couple of drinks, and you're probably like, oh, I'm okay to drive, and hopefully you have somebody that stops you and it takes the keys out of your hands, because it always turns out to be a mess. And if if you just think that you're okay, and let's just try to put yourself in his position. I'm Tony La Russa. I just got a job. I'm back on top. I'm good. I'm feeling good about myself. Oh, I'm fine. He just, ego, just like you said, and he just gets in the car. But I don't think a lot of these guys also want to be driven around. They just want to be like regular guys. Just want to drive their cars or whatever, But not even that. Why are you driving? How about just calling an Uber?
That's what I'm saying.
Just call a Lyft or something.
Why can't we just all be like Alberto Del Rio from the WWE, as Tony says? If everybody was Alberto Del Rio,
there wouldn't be any drunk driving.
Be having this conversation. You know what I mean?
John, do you know who Alberto Del Rio is?
Really? You think I would make that comment if I did?
Alberto Del Rio.
I know there's a lot of wrestling fans out there, Tony. I know you're one of them. I know, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I can't get into it, man.
He's just lucky he didn't kill somebody or himself.
Right. Exactly. Absolutely.
He drove up on a curb.
He's like 109 years old. It probably wasn't alcohol. It was icy hot overdose. Or Bengay. I don't know, but yeah, exactly. Like Tony La Russa is old, man. I mean, listen, maybe the only thing I could think of is with this move, and again, the drunk driving thing is ridiculous. But for the Chicago White Sox, I think they have a really good young team. They have a really good pitching staff. They're young, they're ready to win, and they're hungry. So they figured, let's bring in the old vet, Uncle Charlie, like Charlie Manuel, in 2006 or 5, or I forget when they named him as the manager for the Phillies. But it's like, let's bring in the old vet, show these young guys how to play,
stability,
and maybe get them ready, right?
Stability,
yeah,
stability.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one thing for sure.
A retread.
But yeah, God damn it, Tony, get a goddamn Uber.
He's all sauced up. Driving his car on top of curbs. He's all banged up. What's the matter with this guy? In that picture of him, look like he just looks a mess.
Yeah, he does.
A complete mess.
He doesn't look right.
He was having a good time. Just thank God he's okay and he didn't kill himself or anybody else.
Think about it, man. He had some teams in Oakland, boy. Oof. And in St. Louis.
The teams that, you know what? I always forget St. Louis. Was he with, was he the manager for the Bash Brothers in Oakland?
Yes.
So you're talking about Canseco, McGuire, and
that was a great team.
That was a sick team.
Dave Stewart at the helm.
Who was
Harry Steinbach was the catcher.
Harry Steinbach was the catcher, and you had who was that nasty reliever? Dennis Eckersley.
Yep.
Eckersley. Yeah, that was
Rick
a squad.
Honeycutt.
Rick Honeycutt. Yeah, that was a squad.
Dave Henderson, Mike Gallego.
Mike Gallego. That's a name I haven't heard in about 20 years.
I remember that team, man. That team was the truth. That was the truth. That was the earthquake. You remember the earthquake series with San Francisco?
Yep.
Will the Thrill Clark.
Will the Thrill Clark.
Remember that?
That stiff first baseman, Will Clark. He was a statue, that guy.
He ran the second and his ass was still on first. That's how big it was.
He was such a stiff. Will the Thrill.
No, the biggest stiff was the pitcher, Rick Russell. Remember Rick
Russell? Wow.
He even started an all-star game. How? It was unbelievable. Think of the stiffs that were on some of these teams.
It's unbelievable.
It's great. We got to bring, and that brings us to the 1991 World Series look back. And this is what we do. We're going to come up with this new thing, and it's happened to be baseball. And it's because it scrolled across my feed one day. But every week, I'm going to look back at either a game or a moment and just break down the roster of some of these guys, stars and stiffs alike. Like you just saw Rick Russell in the 91 World Series look back. I'll tell you what, it's a 1-0 win, Game 7, Minnesota Twins. Okay, they beat the Atlanta Braves. But when we look at this team, I'm looking and I'm trying to remember before I even looked up the roster. I'm like, I wonder who was on that team. All right, so let me
Twins
do this.
Or the Braves or both.
So let's start with the Twins. And Mike, I'll start with you. Can you name me one player
from the Twins
that was on the Twins for that game, 1991?
I don't remember much, all right, from that game, but I do remember Kirby Puckett.
Yes.
Kirby Puckett was on that squad because Kirby was the man. I remember
he was
Kirby
the man.
Yeah,
He was.
I remember more players on the Atlanta Braves. That team was crazy.
And this was the Metrodome that had like the Glad trash bags in right field, like over.
Oh my God, that's right.
It was terrible.
I remember that.
Who can, I know you're a big baseball guy. So can you pull somebody out of this lineup for me?
He's got one. He's got a good one.
Well, I must tell you, I did a little research earlier.
Oh, you cheated. John cheated.
It was. I didn't know that it was cheating. I thought that was like my preparation to talk about this. So I wasn't aware that we weren't supposed to look at it. Chuck Knobloch was the guy the only other guy. It was Kirby, Chuck Knobloch. Those were the two.
Didn't Chuck Knobloch like smack around somebody's wife or something? Like what did like
figures you would remember that.
Yeah, because I think he was like in like TMZ, like it was like crazy. Like he got into some kind of trouble.
I forget you talking about recently?
Yeah, no, like back then. Like it was like it was pretty bad. If I
pulled
remember.
up Brett Myers.
Yeah. Oh, Brett Myers. Andre, and that was Jack Morris. Andre
Morris, nice pull. That's a nice
Jack
pull.
Morris went 4-0 and won the World Series MVP, and he was 36 years old. It's crazy, unbelievable, man. Andre said it was 93. He was in the news for something crazy. Yeah, Knobloch did something crazy. But how about the infamous Kent Herbeck? Remember Kent Herbeck?
Wow.
Yeah, he was
That's
the
another name I haven't
hitter
heard
on
in
that
years.
team.
Yeah.
You talk about a stiff at first base. That dude couldn't move at all. Kent Herbeck. I mean, he was like the John Kruk prototype. But
I just looked up Knobloch. He was apparently in some sort of domestic incident, but then he interfered with the police too, and he just got real messy. He allegedly slammed somebody's head and he threw a humidifier at his wife or something. A humidifier? The dude went nuts or something. I don't know what happened. I
told you, man. Maybe it was the roids. I don't know.
Oh yeah. He was all those guys they were all juiced.
He was juiced. He was definitely juiced. So check this out. Here's the lineup for the Minnesota Twins. Dan Gladden leading off in left field. Chuck Knobloch at second. Kirby Puckett in center. Kent Herbeck at first. DH, the infamous Chili Davis.
Davis.
He was a long stay in Major League Baseball.
No
you
doubt.
talk about somebody bouncing around the teams. He bounced around everywhere, man. Catcher Brian Harper.
Wow.
I forgot about him.
Yeah, me
Shane
too.
Mack in right field. Mike Pagliarulo in third base. And Greg Gagne shortstop.
Yeah.
I would have bet my money that Tommy Herr was on that team. And he wasn't.
No.
I'm shocked. I wonder if, hey, John, was Rick Aguilera on that team in the bullpen? Remember when he went off for Minnesota? He went from the Mets and then all of a sudden became like the closer extraordinaire for Minnesota, man.
As soon as he left, it became great.
Yeah, he wasn't even that good.
He was lights out. He wasn't even that good.
Oh, I remember, man. He was on fire. Now let's switch over to the Braves. Okay,
that's the squad.
Yeah, John, I'll go with you first. Give me somebody in this Braves lineup that you remember. 1991 World Series Game 7.
David Justice, number one.
Cleanup. David Justice. Halle Berry's baby boy. Mike, who you got?
I mean, you want to just go pitching? I mean, there's so many.
Whoever you want, man.
Just Tom Glavine.
Tom Glavine. So can you guess who the starter was for that game? It wasn't Tom Glavine.
It was Schmaltz, right?
Yeah.
John Schmaltz? Yeah.
John Smoltz.
John Smoltz, yeah.
Yeah, John Smoltz. Now, the infamous with a Philly connection, Lonnie Smith leading off.
Lonnie Smith off.
Talk about another guy with a big ass, Lonnie Smith. How about?
Man, you're all about the rear today, aren't you, Tony?
Well, you know what it is. It's like some guys they just had the tremendous junk in the trunk when they're out there. Like it was who I'm trying to think of the reliever for the Phillies. Who had it was like he would look walk in the dugout and his ass was still in a pitcher's mouth. I forget. It was ridiculous. How about Terry Pendleton?
Terry Pendleton,
third base, and Ron Gant at center field.
Who was in left? Was it Dion?
Brian Hunter.
It was Brian
Another
Hunter?
Brian Hunter.
Wow.
How about, all right, Mike, come on. First base. Who was playing first base? Can you see him right now rounding?
I can.
Rounding third? Right.
I can.
I know, John.
Just say it, John, because I can't think of who the name is.
John, who is it?
Sid Bream.
Oh, there it is. Sounds more like a hockey player.
Yo,
Now playing center, Sid Bream.
Watching him round first, third base on that. Oh, my Lord, man. It was like taking forever. Like, I couldn't believe he actually made it. Unbelievable. Greg Olson as the catcher.
Oh, yeah.
And here's two names for you. Mark Lemke at second base.
Forgot about him.
Raphael Belliard. Shortstop. Wow.
I never liked Lemke.
Nah,
I never liked the way he looked.
Yeah.
That smug, stupid look. I couldn't stand the way he looked.
They had another guy like Lemke on that team, and I can't I can't remember who he was. They had two guys, with Mark Lemke and some other stiff that came off the bench. And I can't
He was a stiff. I know what you're talking about. I can't think.
I can't remember, man. I can't remember. But how about the infamous Alejandro Pena coming into the bullpen?
Yeah,
Mike Stanton.
That's when baseball was great.
It was
just great.
It was. Andre says the Braves got to get some credit because they came off a 7-game series against John's Pirates to lose in 7.
That's a long run.
True, John? I didn't know that.
Yes.
That was the Bonza Bonilla years, right?
That single play was the downfall of the Pittsburgh Pirates, and we have not come out yet.
Who was the catcher, John? Was that Mike LeCavier? LeCavier?
Another hockey player.
LaValliere, that's it. Mike LaValliere.
Spank LaValliere.
Wow.
So was Barry Bonds on that squad?
Yeah.
That's before when he had a Bobby Bonilla. That's when he had a normal. That was Andy Van Slyke, Bobby Bo, Barry Bonds. When Bonds before the juice.
Before the juice.
Mm-hmm.
Before the juice. Maybe
they didn't sell the juice in Pittsburgh yet.
The cream and the clear didn't hit up north yet. Yeah.
The Twins were rested and ready to play.
Yeah, they were.
See, that's why I kind of like doing these because, man, it brings you back to we were kids growing up, and like Mike said, that's when baseball was great. It was so
great.
Relevant, man. It was. I remember so much from that early 90s to, oh, man, some of the, just watching. Remember, we talked about San Francisco. I remember who was the guy who made the barehanded catch in the outfield for the San Francisco? Yeah, for the San Francisco 49ers. San Francisco Giants. Kevin Mitchell. Kevin Mitchell made that one-handed grab, man, with his bare hands. It was like on every web gem, baseball tonight. That was when I remember watching with Berman and back. Oh my God, dude!
Chris Berman was the best back then,
man. That was fun. But listen, man, we're gonna end this on some music because we're gonna get the John CD closet, okay? Because we got to see what we can pick this week. But this is showing us when we're old. Okay. And again, it just doesn't have to be hip hop. It's just, I look at things that happen around the same week that we do this podcast and see, what anniversaries we can find. And this week, it was actually yesterday, November 9th, but it's the 27th anniversary of the debut album of the Wu-Tang Clan that entered the 36 chambers.
That's right.
And it changed the game. It literally changed the game. Wu-Tang Clan was the first group to have tremendous solo performers and affiliations with everybody, like L.A. the Dark Man, the Wu-Tang Killer Bees. There were so many different affiliations with this group, and they all had solo albums. They sold 40 million records worldwide. 40 million. Crazy. And the other crazy part is I think Method Man looks exactly the same today as he did 27 years ago.
Yeah, but now he's jacked. Did you see that dude lately?
He is jacked.
Tanked.
But man, I remember when I was, and this is showing my age, but I remember it like it was yesterday. I went to North Catholic, and I remember I was in the lunchroom. And it was back then where people had boom boxes, And my buddy Jason Holm, throw his name out there because I know he listens. My boy Jay was like, "Yo, you gotta listen to this new track we just got." And he hit play, and it was METHOD. I was like, "What is this?" Like dude, it was crazy. I mean, to hear, "Hey, you get off my cloud." I mean, it was insane. And then just to hear everything that came out of that, with RZA being the master producer, to hear it Genius with Liquid Swords, right? Shadow boxing. And then you have Raekwon, who comes out with, Only Built on Cuban Links, which was an amazing album.
One of the best hip hop albums ever made was that.
Like, people don't talk about that enough. People like that. We talked about underrated with the Beastie Boys. I'll tell you what, Wu-Tang could be just as underrated.
That Ghostface album was just as good.
500 miles of running, was that?
No, it was Daytona 500.
Daytona
it was crazy.
Wow,
crazy. I remember when the Wu-Tang came out, the first thing I heard was "Protect Your Neck," and I used to play it on Power 99. So Power 99, I think it was live somewhere, some club in Power 99. It was Friday nights. It was Joe Too Cool Kalari with Spin. I think it was live at the
Joe Too Cool Kalari.
Yeah, I think it was live at the Troc, and they played "Protect Your Neck." And when I heard them, I was just like, and you're right, it really did change the game. But you remember, really, what was the game at that point? The East Coast was sort of dead, and everything was coming, anything that was coming out, because it was everything from Straight Outta Compton and all the West Coast stuff that basically stalled the momentum. So there wasn't really anything, and it was before Biggie. It was in a weird time right now, and it was a totally different style. And it really brought hip hop back to the East, because nobody was doing anything in the East at that point. It was all NWA, and it was all Dre, and it was all that. It was before Dre, because Dre was like 92, 93. So it was in the middle of, at the end of Straight Outta Compton, when Ice Cube, Death Certificate, it was during all that stuff. And it was a wholly new style. It was a completely new style.
It was. And again, it was a, it was a huge conglomerate of guys. Like, it was it wasn't like, we heard groups, right? You had Cypress Hill, 3 guys. You got Mobb Deep, 2 guys. I mean, you had like 8, 9 dudes, and it was like, wow. Like, this is, and they all, You Got, Inspector Deck. I mean, Capadonna. I mean, they all had a role, which was just amazing, man. It was amazing. It debuted. The funny thing is, the album, it says only peaked at number 41 on the Billboard 200 chart. That was the highest it ever got. Was 41.
I think it was before its time, man. People didn't understand the Wu-Tang Clan. They didn't get the lyrics. The lyrics are crazy. I mean, you can still listen to the lyrics now and hear stuff, and you're just like, what? Like,
I know.
Those guys were true lyricists, and a lot of their stuff flows in ways that still doesn't even make any sense. They've written books about it and stuff like that. It just flows.
Style.
They're all with the same sort of style too. I mean, they all have their individual styles, but it all flows towards the same thing.
It's crazy.
You remember this pharmaceutical guy, Martin Shekel, that was the winning bidder for the Wu-Tang Clan's only album that they put up for auction? It was like $2.5 million. And the Wu-Tang Clan put an album out a couple of years ago, and they only wanted to sell it to one person, and that one person had to sign a contract, could be the only person to listen to it. And it went to this pharmaceutical guy who was the guy wound up getting thrown in jail for corporate embezzlement or whatever he was doing. I think his name was Martin Shekel, but he wind up getting this album. He's the only one that has this album, and the Fed seized all of his property. So this Wu-Tang album is like sitting somewhere in the Treasury departments, getting ready to be auctioned off, because only one person ever bought it and heard it. You got to do some research on this album. It's crazy. I forget. I think it's called Once Upon a Time in Shaolin. It's like really unbelievable story behind it. So they do all this stuff, dude. And you could even talk about Method Man and what he did, because he made that one song that was on the Tupac album that I forget. It was like a collaboration of a bunch of West Coast rappers. And Andre had just said that Method Man was the only one to do a track with Biggie. I think he may have been the only one to do a track with Tupac as well. I'm going to have to do some research on that.
Wow. I
a lot of history with the Wu-Tang Clan.
Remember, Method Man was the guy. Method Man was the collaboration guy. Everybody wanted Meth. Remember, he obviously, we all know the joint he did with Mary J. Blige, right? He did one with was it Limp Bizkit? He did a song with Limp Bizkit called All In Together Now. And he came out with the collaboration with Redman right? I mean, so he was Redman or Method Man was all over that Tikal album, that solo album. That was insane. The Tikal album was unbelievable.
He got a lot, much more commercial play than the rest of those guys did. Yeah, the rest of it really just it was underground and kind of stayed underground, you know?
Yeah. I mean, they all came out with solo albums. You know, Ghost really he never went mainstream. He came out with a ton of albums, never really went mainstream. You know, the Raekwon album, like we said, was unbelievable. I mean, Capadonna came out with one, but it was kind of like underground.
Capadonna was smooth.
Yeah, but it was on it. It never made it to the mainstream.
No.
You know what I mean?
I think that's what made them great. And believe it or not, if you know, those guys are relevant again. Like before COVID and all this crap started happening, they were touring big time.
Yeah,
and you know who put them back on the map? You know this rapper Logic, right? So he's like a newer guy. I don't know if you heard of him before, but Logic, his name is Logic. Yep. So you know, he has a very young demographic that listens to him. You know, he's more on the Gen Z and millennial type of thing. And he did a track talking about Wu-Tang Clan. And it opened up all of the young kids completely into a whole new genre. And it just, like, Wu-Tang exploded again. And a lot of it has to do with, like, Logic sort of paying some homage to the Wu-Tang Clan because they just did so much stuff. They were just ahead of their time. That's what it was. Yeah,
I think you're right because they were still good. Like when they were touring, I was listening. They still sounded good.
Oh yeah, and they never changed. Really they still sound the same. They never changed their style. They never did anything.
Never changed, man. It's crazy, John. Were you a Wu-Tang guy, John?
Yeah. I have quite a few Wu-Tang things. I was an ODB guy. That was
Russell Jones.
That was my man. So I mean, everybody loved meth.
Me and Mariah.
Yes. Yes.
Baby, so I like it raw.
Yeah, I'm an ODB fan. That's my guy.
ODB,
yeah. Just stupid. He was like stupid, silly too. Like he just talked stupid.
And what he did flowed. You know, it was like weird garbage flow, but it flowed into everything he did.
Shimmy, shimmy, y'all, shimmy, yeah.
He died young, man.
He was the clown. He was the clown of the clan.
He was the clown. Of the
clan.
He
think he had some kidney. He had like bad diabetes. Like I think he had some medical issues. Is why he died.
Yeah. I don't think it was anything nefarious. It was definitely medical. Just like the guy from Mobb Deep, Havoc, was the same way. He had some medical issues as well, which is another one of my favorite rap groups of all time. I was a big Mobb Deep fan.
Mobb Deep was great.
You guys remember Brownies, the club 23 East, like down in Conshohocken or whatever?
Yeah, it's like
I swear, part
Brownies.
Part of the Wu-Tang Clan was there on a Friday, and I remember
Brownies.
I swear to goodness, it wasn't the whole clan. Like I don't think it was ODB. I forget who was there. I think there was like 3 of them, and this would have been in probably like 2000. I don't know, 2003 ish.
No kidding.
Yes, I don't, but I remember going to Brownies. It was Brownies 23 East.
I remember that. Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, they had part
down
of the
by the
Wu-Tang
waterfront.
Clan. Yes.
I think that's like when they went dark. So Wu-Tang Forever was 97, 98.
Remember when that came out?
That was, wow.
The violin in that song in Triumph.
It's just nasty.
Wow.
I still listen to that. That's good workout music, man. Wu-Tang gets you fired up.
Yeah, I love Wu. Andre says Pittsburgh native Wiz Khalifa was heavily influenced by Wu-Tang. I could definitely see that. Mentions, the best album of the group was Built for Cuban Links. We agree 100%. Incarcerated Scarfaces, the Ice Cream Man is coming. I mean, listen, man, the tracks go on and on and on. You put
that only Built for Cuban Links. You start it and you just let it run through.
Yep. There's only a couple mountains like that, Mike. There's only a couple.
There's not many.
There's only,
I wonder how many mics that got. How many? Yeah, that 50 Cent. Get Rich or Die Trying is the same thing.
That's another one.
How many mics do you think only Built for Cuban Links got from the Source? Remember the Source magazine would give you the mics, and there was only a certain. I mean, if you got 5 mics, your album was the bomb, right? It was like the best.
Yes,
it was really hard to get 5 mics. We should do some research on that. I'm curious as to
I'm curious too. Like see what we'll do that for next week. I'm curious to see how, because you're always curious to see how preliminary that the analysis is and then it comes out, because if people just jump on it, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, if the audience just loves it could suck, doesn't matter. It's going to get oh, look, Andre's second and says it got 5 mics. Andre said it got 5 mics.
Yeah,
so there it is.
There it is.
He says Triumph cross radio plays at the station. That's right, because Andre was a producer, so he was producing back then.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. So
there's not many albums that get 5 mics. I remember another one was that Outkast album that really didn't do too well, but the people that were Outkast fans, I think it was called Aquamini or something. Yeah,
Aquamini. That's
and if you know what, I listened to that. I didn't give that any shot back then, but you know what? I listened to it recently. You should listen to it. I did the same thing with Paul's Boutique. I ignored it for about 15 years.
Me too. I never liked that.
I just didn't. And then when I listened to it recently, I'm like, this was way ahead of its time. And I think Paul's Boutique got another 5 mics. So I don't know, man.
I'll tell you, man. Just going back to generation, the evolution of hip hop is wonderful, man. It really is. I love it. Andre says, Nas and Biggie both got 5 mics around that time.
Yeah, the Nas album I know got 5 mics.
Was that Illmatic?
Sure. It was Illmatic. Yeah, Illmatic was just crazy.
And Biggie was ready to die.
He was ready to die. Yeah, and I was it Ready to Die, or was it Life After Death that got 5 mics?
Or could have been both.
I think it might have been Life After Death. Honestly,
you think that was the double CD?
That was the double. I think that's the one that got 5 mics.
Don't I'll tell you what. I still. It's so funny because I used to go to Tower Records on Friday nights to buy the singles, listen on the headphones.
Think of that concept.
Right, remember that? Think about that. Yeah, we're definitely not doing that now. But I remember, man. Like I remember getting that double C. I remember I was working. I'm not going to say names, but I remember where I was working at that time, and I had it so good that I remember my girlfriend at that time actually stood in line at Tower Records in South Philly. Got me, because that's when you stood in line to get the track. Got me the double CD and brought it to me at work. And I was so excited, man. I was so that album. Are you kidding me? The Bone and Thugs song on that album is insane. It's insane. Notorious Thugs.
Yeah, I was thinking
one of the best tracks of all time.
It's like standing in line at Tower. John is reminiscent of going to Blockbuster and renting a DVD on a Friday night.
Hey,
like a relic of a past time.
I was not standing in line, but I was at the mall every Tuesday. Tuesdays when all the new one. Yes,
the drop.
So, yes,
Sam Goody drop.
Yeah, dude, it wasn't Sam Goody. I forget what the name of
strawberries, coconuts.
No,
wall to wall sound and video.
Wall to wall sound or the wall. It was the wall.
I don't even remember. There were two different ones.
People are probably listening like, what are they talking about? Yeah, these were like all the retail stores that you actually have to go to and buy stuff. Instead now you just download things.
No
but now
digital download.
Let alone if you wanted Chick-fil-A, you had to go to the mall. There was no such thing as a standalone Chick-fil-A. If you want to eat Chick-fil-A, you got to go to the mall, period.
Ready to Die, Life After Death came out, Andre says, and the source gave it 5 mics in tribute to Biggie. His album came out, but he never got a chance to promote it because of his death.
There it is.
That was a tremendous album. And listen, man, I mean, we can end on that. John, we're gonna go into John's CD wallet next week. We're gonna do a double one this week because we're a little pressed for time. But yeah, I listen. I don't know about you guys. Whenever we talk about this, like I'm literally when I'm going to be editing this show, I'm going right to my stream, and I'm playing some Biggie right now, dude. I'm like the Life After Death is in my
fired
head
up
right now, man.
Put on. I got a story to tell, and then put your story together.
Oh man, okay. What the 10 crack commandments?
There you go.
Great as always, Andre. Look, me and Andre literally said it at the same time. It's amazing. 100%. Everybody, thanks for joining in as always. Episode 135, classic as always. tons of interaction. Sorry I didn't get to everybody's comments. I apologize. A lot of good talk. We did a lot of different things. We'll continue to do different things. For Pittsburgh, John Coker at PGH John 36, Tony Jigsaw Cotillo at T Cotillo 23, Mikey Googs and at Heat Ratio Sports. Again, for real, give us a follow. Continue to follow. We appreciate the support. I hear you guys get into my DMs every single day. I love it. Andre, for you are the real one, man. Thank you. Always tagging us on the station. Always tagging us on Twitter. I really appreciate it. And as I always say, as always, stay safe, stay healthy, and we will catch you next week.